To order. 5 o'clock. At this public hearing, the council will consider official community plan amendment bylaw number 1076, 2024, and zoning amendment bylaw number 1077, 2024, proposing to redesignate and rezone the property specifically address 1133 Shuswap Avenue to accommodate expansion of existing primary dwelling house and construction of a detached accessory dwelling unit. Zoning amendment bylaw number 1081, 2024, proposing to rezone the property where the building strata KAS 3317 exists, civically addressed 1209 Riverside Avenue to correspond better with the actual use featured. If you believe your interest in property is affected, you will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or present when submissions to council concerning proposed land use amendments. The public is invited to make presentation to council. Everyone will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard. No one should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. In-person attendees will be asked to speak first, followed by anyone participating online. Please observe the following procedural rules during the public hearing. Please listen and be courteous to everyone who makes a presentation to council. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Everyone will have an opportunity to be heard. Please also be mindful that interruptions and background noise make it difficult for online attendees to hear what is being shared. Thank you for being mindful of this. To make a presentation, please raise your hand. If you're attending electronically via Zoom, you can click on the hand icon. Please wait until you've been acknowledged to speak and state your name for the record. In-person attendees are asked to speak from the podium using the microphone. To ensure everyone has equal opportunity to speak, we ask that you keep your presentation to 3 minutes in length. You'll be notified when 30 seconds remains. After all the in-person and online attendees, I will provide a second opportunity to speak. Please only raise your hand if you have new information to share. Council members may ask questions following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It is not to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please direct all your comments through me, the meeting chair. This includes any concerns about how the meeting is being conducted. This is the final opportunity to comment on the proposed amendment bylaws, as council members are not permitted to receive new submissions after the close of the public hearing. We're going to start with the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1076, zoning amendment bylaw number 1077, Shuswap Avenue. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, through to the chairs. We are looking at the OCP amendment and zoning bylaw for 1133 Shuswap Avenue. And we have the owner in the gallery today. So the property has received first and second reading already. Obviously, we're doing the public hearing. It'll need to go to third and then adoption. So today we're looking at 1133 and it's designated town center under the official community plan. Under the zoning bylaw 1100/2024, it is C1, local and town center commercial. So the proposal is not commercial. We're looking at doing a building permit for the expansion of an existing home and then an accessory dwelling unit on the property. And if you go to the next slide. Thank you. The existing home under the C1 zone is currently legal non-conforming. And when they want to do an addition or an accessory dwelling unit, that doesn't line with the C1 zone. And so what we're looking to do is amend the OCP and the zoning to allow the addition and dwelling unit to go through. So notifications were sent out and no public input was received for this one. MOTI is required to approve the bylaw prior to adoption, Ministry of Transportation. So we'll be doing that after tonight if it's passes third reading. The proposed addition will require a building permit and it'll still go through that review process. Water and sewer connections are existing for this one and for any additional dwelling units they want to do. And there was no concerns raised by the other internal. Just wanted to remind everyone that at one of the planning and development committees, we had discussed some of these properties along Shuswap Avenue that are designated town center and commercial, and they have existing homes on them, and what the best direction would be to allow people to improve their homes. And the general direction was for homes south of Main Street on Shuswap to kind of align those more with residential rather than commercial, but then to try and keep commercial north of Main Street on Shuswap Avenue. So that is one of these properties. So at the PDC, we did have the formal recommendations to take it to first and second, and now tonight we're doing public hearing. And that is the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open the floor up to anyone who wants to speak to the recommendation. Anyone online? Call the second time in the gallery. Second time online. Third time in the gallery. Third time online. Keep this public hearings closed. Zoning amendment bylaw number 1081-1209 Riverside Avenue. Staff will provide a summary before I open the floor for public input.
Okay, through the chair, thank you. Yes, this is a rezoning for 1209 Riverside Avenue. The proposal in general is to go from C4 to MUR2, and it's known as the station. Under the OCP, it's currently designated town center and zoned C4 tourist accommodation resort. So we received an application to rezone the property from C4 to MUR2 seasonal accommodation. So it sounds like some of the owners at the station had some real estate listings and transactions in the building that were impacted by the commercial zoning. They weren't able to get residential mortgages. And there are no, I guess there is no commercial component at this property. It's well, a multi-unit residence. And so they had approached us to rezone the property. And a little bit of the history, they were zoned under the 1993 bylaw, C1A, and of course that doesn't exist anymore. When zoning bylaw 1000 was adopted, it was zoned to C4. Go to the next slide. Just want to do a comparison. The current bylaw, we've got C4 and MUR2. Under C4, the intent of that zone is to have it as tourist accommodation. So it says hotels, cabins, tent structures, glamping. That's not what the existing building is. And under MUR2, it's more, the multi-unit residence with seasonal accommodations. It allows for short-term rentals. Both allow for short-term rentals, but the MUR2 is a better fit for what's existing in terms of the building. For the OCP, the proposal aligns, or the existing development aligns with the OCP. And then the existing development also aligns with MUR2 under the zoning bylaw. And then finance took a look at it. It's currently assessed as class 1, and we don't anticipate that changing with the rezoning because it's based on use. We had one formal response to the public input notifications that were sent, and that was attached to the staff report. So hopefully you have a chance to read that. And MOTI is required to approve the bylaw prior to adoption. So we'll also be sending this one over if it is successful at third. No new development proposed in this one, building as is, and there were no other concerns raised by other internal departments. That is the end of the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. We're just going to open the floor for public input. Up to the podium, please, and state your name. Oh, Steve first, and then.
Hi, good evening, Steve Fellinger. I'm here on behalf of KAS 31C36, commonly called The Lofts. Our property adjoins to, as you guys call it, the station. We have concerns, not with the rezoning. I mean, that, Nicole actually clarified that both of them allow for STR rentals. That's fine. But we've had ongoing issues with parking. I mean, the station right now, I think anybody in town knows it's very, very limited, the parking. I think they only have about 3. The rest is used for garages. That's where the problem comes into place. There's registered easement on our property at time of development, probably, I would imagine, by the developer, whomever that was. And there was an easement registered coming through our property to allow access to the parking underneath the garages, which is fine. We want to be good neighbors. But what happens is every summer and every winter on the 2 busy seasons, winter is really bad. Vandalism, parking in the fire lanes on our property, constantly all the time. They're different strata property manager. We have very little response from the property manager ever when we try to deal with it that way. It creates issues with snow removal. Like I said, vandalism, signs tore down, blatantly tore down, no parking signs, just chucked into the weeds. It's like, whatever, it's a big parking lot, we should use it. I mean, I wish that we could deal with that. This is all in conjunction with the Healing Center and proposal that I put forth to the District of Sicamous on January the 6th, 2024, in regards to fences and gating, so on and so forth. Our strata 3136, the lofts, we feel as we're being pushed out. We're being pushed out because we have a big chunk of property there, which is usable for us that we purchased, that others are now using it in not a good neighborly manner. So we all know, everybody in this room or council-wise knows how we felt about the Healing Center. That's water under the bridge. We support it now. We want it to be successful, but we do have an issue with the station and the parking. So I would hope the council will take that under consideration. Maybe we can do something. My solution, Daryl's aware of the proposal that I gave in January, or we gave our strata. I've seen nothing since January on it. There's been no discussion. His predecessor, Kelly Bennett, no phone calls, no contact, nothing. So we're kind of like, what are we gonna do here? That's it. That's our concerns, vandalism and parking.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, and fire access too. That's pretty big. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to step up and name?
My name is Dave Zerke. Ladies and gentlemen of council, thank you very much for your time.
Can you speak up, please?
Sorry. My name is Dave Zerke. I'm just the president of the strata, one that we're discussing right now. I want to thank everybody for your time. In regard to the concerns, I took over as president last year of strata. We have, I apologize, I'm not aware of a lot of the stuff he's talking about. The signs for the parking in the winter are generally knocked down by the snow plows and the piles of snow. They're always put back up myself. So they're always down in the winter time. In terms of the vandalism, I never actually heard or discussed anything with them. For ourselves, we're really just looking for the property to be zoned for what the use is being done for. Myself and my wife had lived here many years ago. Not sure which members of the council had talked to my wife. She was after Dr. 30. She was actually supposed to be a doctor here years ago but everything got delayed. She's still very interested in trying to do locums. We're just in Kelowna now, so we're still a really active part of the community. We're just looking to get the property zoned for what we're using it for. As a commercial designation, it was actually ourselves that had our property for sale. It made it impossible for anybody to get a mortgage. With the commercial designation, you have to physically prove to the bank that you're using it as a rental property. You have to produce the revenue to qualify, which is basically making that property exempt from anybody to live here as a full-time resident. So that's all we're looking for, is just to get the zoning changed. If there's any concern with the other strata, I'm more than happy. I remember, forgive me, Steve, happy to work with you guys. If there's any concern, please just call me directly. I'm just down the road in Kelowna, but I'm here all the time. But I'm happy to work with you and whatever we can do to make it better for you. Thank you, everyone, very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else in the gallery? Go ahead, Mary, to the podium. State your name, please.
Mary Lamella, I was just wanting to know about the parking out front of the station, there's the three little units that are facing the red barn. Now, the parking on the street, who is that meant for?
So the three small units have designated parking right beside me. So if you're looking at the unit right beside the park, there's three designated spots with like their painted number.
Not on the main
Not
road,
on the main road.
but they all park there too?
There's one gentleman that's there full time, right below us. He's there in a green car, you see outside of the building every day. The parking on the street, we made it very clear to when we are here, friends here, that, you know, there's no trailer parking, there's not, we've been very diligent with the parking. Sure.
Can we just, Mary, if you've got a question, do you want to just ask it and then the next speaker can get up and address it? Okay. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Anyone else in the gallery? Anyone else online? Is there anyone online that wants to speak to this?
See anybody?
No? Call the second time. Anyone in the gallery? Anyone online? And the third time, anyone in the gallery? Anyone online? Okay, this public hearing is closed. Okay, we're gonna be, sorry, the public hearing is closed at 5:16. Bylaws and policies, official community plan bylaw amendment 1076/2024, the zoning bylaw amendment 1077/2024, 1133 Shuswap Avenue, third reading. Staff previously presented the OCP and zoning amendment during the public hearing. Would council like to hear the presentation again? Okay. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose official community plan amendment bylaw number 1076/2024 be given third reading this 9th day of October 2024. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Rich. Is there any discussion on this one? Call the question, all in favor? And that's carried. Recommendation 2, that the District of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw number 1077/2024 be given third reading this 9th day of October 2024. Could I get a mover? Councillor Evans, Councillor Bushel. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question, all in favor? And that's carried as well. Okay, zoning amendment bylaw number 1081/2024, 1209 Riverside Road, third reading, Riverside Avenue, third reading. Staff previously presented on the zoning amendment during the public hearing. Would council like to see the presentation again? Okay. Recommendation that the District of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw number 1081/2024 be given third reading this 9th day of October 2024. Could I get a mover? Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bailey, any discussion?
Yes,
Bailey,
just quickly, I completely agree that this should be zoned MUR2. It does not. I mean, how it ever got zoned as resort is, that's I think a pretty clear oversight. So, and any of the issues with the property, it will not, rezoning it won't, keeping it the same won't solve those issues. So, you know, I think that's probably a separate conversation and then the things that have to be worked out. But I support the rezoning because it just makes a lot of sense.
and it sounds like the neighbors
I think
together. I think they'll figure it out. Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Official community plan amendment bylaw number 1084/2024 and zoning amendment bylaw number 1085/2024, 1117 Shuswap Avenue, first and second reading. Staff will introduce. If you have questions during the presentation, please make note and ask them during the discussion. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, through the chair, we've got another OCP amendment and zoning or a rezoning for 1117 Shuswap Avenue. So it's currently designated town center and it's zoned C1. The plan for this property is to expand the existing house, similar to the property that we saw. They are also existing, not legal non-conforming, And when they want to do the addition, it's not in line with the C1 zone. And so what they're looking for is to do the exact same thing as proposal earlier, to rezone and do the OCP amendment so that they can do their improvement. So just brought this slide up one more time. This is the discussion we had at the PDC, and 1117 is at just the tail end there of the residentially zoned lots on Shuswap, south of Main Street. And I just brought this slide up for discussion around the development permit area. So we have quite a few applications happening in this area to better align with what's existing and what we want in that area. So an example that we have where we changed the development permit area or kept the development permit area was 303 and 307 Fred Bush Lane. For those properties, they were doing the OCP amendment and the rezoning, but they were going to multi-unit residential. And so it was appropriate to keep the development permit requirement. But for 329 Main Street, which I think we'll see a little bit later, and then 1133 that we just saw, we're proposing that they'll remain in the town center development permit area, but when they're proposing just a single family dwelling or an accessory dwelling unit, we won't be asking for a full-on development permit application. It's just the building permit. So this one will require a public hearing and notification. MOTI is required to sign before it's adopted. The construction will require a building permit, of course, and it'll go through that review. Water and sewers is existing on the, I guess, the favorable side for them. It's on the east side of Shuswap Avenue, and there was no other concerns raised by the other departments. At the PDC, they had recommended that both come to council for first and second. And that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. So there's two recommendations here. Recommendation one, that the District of Sycamoose Council give first and second reading to the official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1084, 2024 to redesignate the property legally described as Lot 4, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 82631117, Shuswap Avenue from Town Center to residential low density. Could I get a mover on that? Councillor McCabe, Councillor Beach. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Recommendation two, that the District of Sycamoose Council give first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085, 2024 to rezone the property legally described as Lot 4, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District Plan 82631117, Shuswap Avenue from C1 Local Town Center Commercial to R1 General Residential. Could I get a mover on that? Councillor Rich, Councillor Bushel, is there any discussion on that? Call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, moving on, District of Sycamoose zoning amendment bylaw number 1086, 2024, 1455, Silver Sands Road first and second reading. Nicole, do you want to?
Through the chair. Okay, so we're looking at 1455 Silver Sands Road, the zoning amendment. So this is the property here, Sycamoose Sands, and it should look familiar because we've talked about this property quite a bit in terms of setbacks, and that's what we're going to talk about again tonight. So under the OCP, they're designated residential waterfront medium density, and they're zoned RVP2 recreational vehicle park 2, and specifically for Sycamoose Sands. I'm cutting to the chase. So the proposal tonight is to amend the rear lot line setback from 3 meters to 0 meters for the rec vehicle or the park model trailer to the rec vehicle space. And then 1.5 meters to 0 meters for accessory buildings to that rear lot line. So in the next slide, I've just taken a snip of only a portion of Sycamoose Sands, and I've drawn in the red line, and that's the rear lot line. And then, so that means that's where the 0 meter setback would be. I think it's on the next slide, but we've had many discussions with the strata in person, at the PDC, on site with fire, building, planning, members of the PDC. And we tossed around a lot of different ideas, and one of them was a 0.7 meter interior side setback. Right now, the requirement is 1 meter. And after discussion, the strata decided to pull that request. And so tonight, we're only looking at the 0 meter rear setback. That if we allow 0 meter rear setback, that doesn't mean that, you know, they don't have to meet the requirements of any other agency, for example, riparian. I guess this is an example of probably a rare chance that they did a study and they were able to build pretty close to the water line. A 0 meter setback on our end would help them have a bigger buildable area on the property. I wanted to just note that we've taken this to council once before for first and second, and it passed. However, we were in the process after that to adopt zoning bylaw 1100/2024. And so first and second for this one was amending 1000/2022. And on the advice of legal counsel, they said maybe just abandon that one and bring it as a new bylaw. It's the exact same proposal, 0 meter rear setback. There wasn't too much of a rush on this one, and we've been communicating with the strata about the abandonment and bringing up a new one with the exact same proposal. We'll have to do a public hearing and notification. Transportation has to approve it before we adopt it. There's no new construction proposed at this time, no building permits at this strata. Okay, that's the end.
Okay, so there's a recommendation that the District of Sycamoose zoning amendment bylaw number 1086/2024 be given first and second reading the 9th day of October 2024. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Rich. Discussion. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to this? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Delegations, there are no delegations. Staff reports, development permit number 24-023-DP, 1 Mervyn Road. Nicole, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, through the chair. Yeah, this is a water course development permit, and we've got the owner's agent in the gallery today. So this is the property. It's actually one title across Mervyn Road and Highway 97A. And the portion that we're looking at is on the west side of Highway 97A. This is an aerial just showing the property. Right now, it's designated commercial waterfront on the west side of the highway, and it's zoned C6. So the development is proposed to occur in 2 phases, and phase 1 is the relocation of the operations buildings at Sycamoose Houseboats. So what they're looking to do is a little bit of a redesign and pull some of the buildings back out of the SPIA. I'll talk about that more in a bit. And then phase 2, not a part of this application, is for the construction of 11 RV campsites. I'll talk about that later too. And so this is only for the redesign of Sycamoose Houseboats. Okay, so this is only one portion of the property on the west side of Highway 97A. Just broke it down a bit so we can see what's happening. 30 parking stalls. They have an existing building that's going to be converted to a beach amenity. Existing washroom and utility shed is to remain. And on this map, if you can see, the red dotted line is the 50-meter SPIA, and the green dotted line is the 30-meter setback. So there was a wrapper report done and submitted to the province, and the province has approved it. And the proposed new development will be outside of the SPIA, but they are allowing some existing infrastructure to remain. And they would like the developer to incorporate some native vegetation and trees, highly recommended. So just skipping then to the other part of the property that's still on the west side of Highway 97A, 88 parking stalls. They're going to remove their internal traffic island. They have a new operations building, a new maintenance building, going to relocate a propane tank, remove some buildings, keep some buildings, and do a fence around the maintenance yard. So I just wanted to include this slide. It's not a part of tonight's proposal, but this is the 11 RV sites outlined in purple. And then I have the teal parcel area, that's Crown land. And right now the owner is in negotiations with the province to purchase that. It hasn't happened yet. And I think we've probably waited so long that we've already got approval from the province for the riparian portion of the proposal. So they've broken it up. This isn't included. It will come at a later date. But that's just high level, I guess, the bigger plan. Some of the things to think about for the bigger plan, the Crown land area where the 11 sites are proposed overlap with the W3 private moorage area and C6, and it doesn't permit RV sites. So we'll have some work to do there. At the Planning and Development Committee, we didn't have a formal recommendation made, but we talked about all the different options of how to make this work. And the option that's being proposed tonight is that top one where we permit the redesign of the marina land only, and then later take a look at permitting 11 RV sites. The other options we talked about were permitting the redesign and then doing the rezoning all at once, and then allowing the 11 RV sites pending approval from the province, but that sounds pretty complicated. So broke up the application. We're only looking at the redesign at this point. And so for tonight, based on those conversations and approval from the province for the, I guess, the whole purpose of the watercourse development permit is to authorize the development permit. That should be it.
Thanks, Nicole. So there's a recommendation tonight that the District of Sycamoose Council authorize and issue development permit number 24-023-DP for the property legally described as Lot 1, Sections 19 and 30, Township 21, Range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Kamloops Division, Yale District Plan, KAP 86301, number 1, Mervyn Road. Can I get a mover? Councillor Beach, Councillor Bushel. Council discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, thank you. Yeah, I support this proposal. It's good to see, them working out the, back into the RV industry and, like campsites. Before it was called Beachcomber Campground. And it's coming back around again, and, camp spots in the community were very plentiful back in the day, back in the early 80s, and, there were probably, I'm not sure, 15 camp spots or campgrounds around town, and, the town was full. It had 3 grocery stores, and brings a lot of economy to the community. So I support this, and I like the plans that they're working on, and they're phasing it in very well, and I really like it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I think Gord's point is really good. We miss the sort of more affordable camping situations. So this is a good move in the right direction, I think, to make traveling and holidaying accessible to more people.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. At the end, Mary.
In regards to.
I know, but the public input
Or council discussion, sorry.
for the council, sorry. Yeah, not the public, not the gallery. You can ask the question at the end of this. Okay. Okay, development permit number 24-097-DVP 329 Main Street. Nicole, you want to go ahead?
Yep, through the chair. So tonight we're looking at a development variance permit for 329 Main Street, and this is the property outlined in yellow. Just wanted to mention the owner is present in the gallery today. So under the OCP, we have a split designation. It's town center on the north half of the property and then residential low density on the south half of the property. And that's because we just recently went through OCP amendment and rezoning in anticipation of a subdivision and the, I guess, construction of a new residence. So the zoning also split. We've got C1, local and town center on the north half where Linda's Gifts and More is, and then R1 on the south half. So just a little outline of where we're at with this proposal. So OCP and zoning, that has been completed. Tonight, we're looking at the development variance permit, and we'll walk through what the variances are. And then the subdivision is pending. Just high level for the subdivision, we've got a 2-lot sub, going to break off the existing commercial development and then have the house in the back. So the development variance permit is to relax a couple setbacks. And the first one is the front lot line setback, so Shuswap Avenue, from the required 5 meters to a proposed 3.59 meters. And then the rear lot line setback from the required 4 meters to proposed 2.19 meters. The owner was encouraged to move the new home back from Shuswap Avenue to ensure snow maintenance could be accommodated. I think we had that conversation at the Planning and Development Committee. And so that's why there's a variance to the rear setback. And so water and sewer requirements have been communicated to the owner. Unfortunately for them, the connection is across Shuswap Avenue, so it's going to be a little bit more pricier. It sounds like they plan to do construction next year for that. No public input was received after our notifications were sent. And I just wanted to mention for the small scale multi-unit housing changes that we made, it actually lessened the variances that are being proposed tonight. For the front, we're going 5 to 3.59. It was 6 to 3.59. And the rear, the requirement was 5 and now it's 4. So they're lesser of a lesser. And then when the home is constructed, that'll probably change their classification. DC assessment will take a look at that, and DCCs will be required and collected for this. The PDC, we had a recommendation to go through with a development permit and development variance permit. And since the zoning and the discussions that we've had about single family residences not requiring a development permit, the DP portion just is invalid. We're only looking at a variance tonight. And that's the recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so the recommendation of the District of Sycamoose Council approve development variance permit number 24-097-DVP for the property legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 8531329, Main Street. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach. Is any discussion on this one? Let's call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving along to development variance permit 24-131 DVP 1383 Silver Sands Road. Nicole?
Sure. Yeah, we're looking at 1383 Silver Sands Road, and it's in Silver Sands Resort there. The OCP designation is residential waterfront medium density. And it's zoned RVP1, Recreational Vehicle Park 1, and specific to Silver Sands. Okay, so just want to note that this application came to us as the result of a stop work order. Sounds like the building department was on site for some other inspections and noticed some construction on the lot, and the stop work order was issued, and then the variances came to our attention. To my knowledge, I'm just throwing a number out. It's probably 90 to 95% constructed. So the variance that we're looking at, sorry, Bianca, if you go back one, is for a new awning to be attached to the existing park model. I'll talk about that. And the new awning doesn't conform to the setback requirements in the zoning bylaw. So the variance includes allowing the awning to be structurally attached to the park model. Our zoning bylaw doesn't allow that. And then varying the southwest interior side setback from 1 meters, that's our minimum, to 0.2 meters. And then varying the front setback, which is to their internal access route, from 4.5 meters to 3.24 meters. We talked about this a lot at the Planning and Development Committee, and we had an on-site meeting with the strata and the owner and other owners in the strata. And ultimately for this file at the PDC meeting, it was recommended that the owner complete a few things before they come to council to try and rectify the issue, I would say. So one of the things was a letter from the property strata outlining its policy on secondary structures moving forward. We've received a letter and we've also received what their process is moving forward for new construction at Silver Sands. The strata has been cooperative and they made a form that if someone wants to do any new construction in Silver Sands, they fill out the form, they give it to the strata, they connect with us. So that everyone is aware of new construction happening there and making sure it aligns with the zoning bylaw. And so number two, a letter from the neighbor in support of the secondary structure, and we received that. This is the neighbor directly adjacent to this property with the 0.2 meter setback proposed. So we've received that, they're in support. An engineering report to address snow load on the awning, and we've received that, and the building official has looked at it and said that will satisfy that requirement. There's still other requirements they have to do as part of the building permit, but as far as the snow load for the awning, that's okay. And then the last thing was to remove the cedar trees, and we just received notice that they've done that. So we thought that they hadn't done that, and they did. They let us know today. So the recommendations from the PDC have been committed to and completed by the applicant, and that's why we're proposing today that the variance permit be issued.
Okay, so the recommendation, thanks Nicole, the recommendation of the District of Sycamoose Council authorize and issue development variance permit 24-131-DVP for the property located at 1383 Silver Sands Road. Could I get him over? Councillor McCabe or Beach. Any discussion? Councillor Bushel.
Chair, yeah, this one, we spent a lot of time on, the Planning and Development Committee meeting, and then we also did an on-site, and, you know, the Silver Sands, development had kind of done a lot of upgrades in their development without, district approval or district knowledge. And unfortunately, this owner actually, was caught halfway through. And, it really, the council with their strata approval, because everybody else has done the same thing in their development. And I know he's going for 0.2. Most of them are all 0. Over there, you couldn't get through if you tried to, and I'd say probably almost half of the development is 0. So this proponent has actually, you know, gone beyond you know, all the expectations that the district wanted, and we've kind of felt that going forward, the strata has committed to providing no more improvements in that development until it comes to the building department. So we you know, come to good terms there, and just this gentleman kind of got caught in a bad situation where everybody else did it and he was given approval to do it from the strata, but then got caught by the district, you know. So he's done everything we've asked, and I feel I support this because he's done a good job, and the neighbor beside him is okay with it. And so that's where we're at. So I kind of support this. Thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I'll support it as well, but you know, we've spent a lot of time here about side setbacks and why those matter and talking to the fire department. I mean, this is literally the only exception I'm gonna make. If this ever happens again, I'm not gonna vote for any more variances from the meter setback, because we designed 2 different RVP zones to accommodate what was already there. It's over time, it's morphed into what it is. It doesn't mean that it should have, right? We're trying to accommodate it, but this is certainly 0.2 is it's just not enough. That's why we set it at 1, but this is the better solution than forcing him to rip down the structure, I think. And I'm glad that he's satisfied all the requirements. Kind of felt like, well, if the neighbor was okay and then the snow load would, you know, the awning would take the snow load, then at least we could be okay with it. So, but yeah, I won't be voting for a 0.2 ever again.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. I agree with you as well. This is and then big for forgiveness later. Yeah, I agree that there's not a lot we can do in this case, but it shouldn't set a precedent, and people need to be aware of and the variances that they're allowed. Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Carrie. Okay. Development permit and development variance permit number 24-107 DP/DVP 222 Temple Street. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, through the chair. So I think we have the owner and the developer online today. So the property we're looking at, 222 Temple, we've talked about this property quite a bit. And so tonight we're looking at the DP and the DVP. So it's designated residential medium density and zoned MUR1 multi-unit residential. So the development permit is for 73 unit townhouses. And then the development variance permit is to vary the zoning bylaw and the subdivision and development servicing bylaw. If successful, we are probably looking at a phase development agreement to come to council at a later date. This slide here is just the snips from the last slide in, I guess, a bigger font, kind of shows the the layout and then some of the phasing and what the unit allotment looks like. We'll keep that in case we need it for later. Okay, so development variance on the setback requirements. So this is the zoning bylaw setback requirements. And what's proposed to be varied is the front setback on Temple Street from the required 6 meters to the proposed 4 meters. And just want to talk about that a bit before we keep going. So in discussions with the fire department and the developer, we wanted the internal access road, which is the road to all these units, to be as wide as possible for emergency vehicles. And so to do that, a variance was requested for 6 meters to 4 meters, so they wouldn't compromise the number of units. The maximum number of units on this lot is 74, and with this layout, they're sitting at 73. So that is probably the highest density they can get and a good use of this entire piece of land. Just also wanted to note the second variance is for the interior side setbacks where it abuts a residential zone. And that's going from 6 meters to 3 meters in this proposal. In the MUR1 zone, we have a 1.5 meter interior side setback. I think we're pretty familiar with that. However, in the MUR1 zone like this, and it abuts a residential zone, like the ones next door, the setback 6 meters, which is actually pretty high. So I think the intent of that separation is just the medium density to low density and trying to have a little bit of a buffer. 6 meters is still a lot, and it may be something that we want to flag in a future review. But right now, that's the proposal, is going from 6 meters to 3 meters on those side lot lines where it abuts a residentially zoned parcel. Okay, next slide. We have a variance proposed to the setbacks and I guess building massing. So this is a rendering of the buildings. And what we're proposing to vary with this is the required 6 meters to a range of 3 to 4 meters, depending on the building. So anywhere there is a 3-story building with a height of 10 meters or more, we're going from the required 6 meter setback to 3 meters. The 6 meter to 4 meter is all buildings along Temple Street. So the shadow cast, I was chatting with June about it a bit. Shouldn't impact any of the existing buildings on Temple Street. It really depends on the time of year. We haven't asked for a sun study of any sort, but that's the whole idea of massing is the shadow cast. So yes, the Temple Street 6 meter to 4 meter. Okay, we got more. So the development variance for off-site improvements. So this is the subdivision and development servicing bylaw. So just wanted to walk through what's required and then what's being proposed. So what's required is in our OCP, and it designates Temple Street as an urban collector, 25 meter. And under the subdivision and development servicing bylaw, the standard for that is classified as an RD3, and that's what this drawing is. In the next slide, I kind of just zoomed it up a bit so we can actually see what it's supposed to look like. I'm just going to move from the center of the drawing left towards 222 Temple, we'll say. So you've got your asphalt road, correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, and then a boulevard, and then lighting, and then a concrete sidewalk, a little bit of boulevard again, and then private property, which would be 222 Temple. So that's what's currently required. If you go to the next slide, they're varying the required 25-meter wide road width for Temple Street, and we're calling it a modified urban collector standard of 20.12 meters, the existing road dedication right now, and waiving the requirement for curb and gutter. So I'll walk through what that looks like. So June has kindly put on the developer's drawing for what Temple could look like. And in the next slide, I just zoomed it up like 800% so we can actually see it. So we've got Temple Street, and then instead of the boulevard, we've got a little bit of a swale, then some lighting, and then a 2.5 meter asphalt multi-use pathway, and then a little bit of boulevard, and then the private property 222 Temple. So that's what the developer is proposing here. And we've had conversations with them. This could work. This is the variance. Slide. Yeah, thanks. And then this is just a drawing in case we need it for discussion. Okay, this is another drawing from the developer showing what this could look like on Temple Street. And I think this is probably a good time to note that these improvements are required fronting 222 Temple Street and 224 Temple Street. There's some existing agreements in place for that. And so this drawing shows the full build out. So if you could picture walking down Temple Street, you would just jet onto the new multi-use pathway in front of these two properties and then jet back out. So tonight's decision, if this is supported, right now there is no sidewalks on Temple Street. I would say it's not improved. And so if this is what we're going with, the rest of the properties on the north side of Temple Street would have to do this as well and connect in. Next slide. Okay, another drawing, and I'm going to zoom in 800%. There we go. And it kind of just shows where the buildings are located on 222 Temple Street. And again, what the multi-use pathway could look like, their access into it, the other buildings that are existing across the street. We did receive public input after the notifications were sent for this one, and we included them in the staff report or attached it to the agenda at least. So hopefully you had a chance to read that before a decision's made tonight. The buildings will of course require a building permit. The subdivision is pending development permit approval. The water and sewer requirements have been shared with the developer, and a works and services agreement will be required. I got a little bit more to talk about here. Okay, so the permits contain language around fire department requirements like hydrant maintenance, maintaining an unobstructed clearance for the internal access road, and fire smart landscaping. I just wanted to note for a little extra comfort, 2 visitor parking stalls were removed and included as part of this package, and they were removed from the plan to ensure that the internal access route had unobstructed access. Even with removing those 2 spots, we still meet the minimum parking requirements. I'll just note that for the home, like for the units, 112 parking stalls are required, and we have 132. And for visitors, 7.3 are required in our zoning bylaw, and they are providing 14 even after removing those 2. And I just wanted to note, I've got a couple more things here. The MUR1 zone does not permit short-term rentals, if there were parking concerns around that. From the bylaw department, they just suggested we have some no parking signs on Temple Street, which they could enforce on. And then there were no other concerns raised by other internal departments. Slide. DCCs are required, and the estimated amount was included in the staff report. And for the phase development agreement, the developer is going to be tied to the zoning bylaw and phasing, and we're just determining what other conditions could look like. And then it'll come in the form of a bylaw, so it has to come to council. We'll go to public hearing for that, and so on. At the PDC, it was quite early on. I think it was a late item, and they had presented the concept in general, and the planning committee would or let us know that they would prefer it to just go straight to council mostly because it's additional housing and it's townhouses, which can't come across too often in Sycamoose. So I've got the recommendation of authorizing the development permit and the development variance permit. Just wanted to note a couple other things. In our housing needs assessment, I guess these 73 units are needed to meet our goal. Said that we needed 166 new, shaking your head, new dwellings required in Sycamoose. So this would help us meet that demand. I think those are all the notes that I had. Wow. Yay, end of presentations.
Thank you, Nicole. Good job, good job. Recommendation one, that the District of Sycamoose Council authorize and issue development permit number 24-107-DP for the property legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District Plan, EPP 139195222 Temple Street. Could I get a mover on that? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beat. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, we talk a lot about sidewalks lately, and I'm not big on the multi-path. I think people park on it, and I think we need raised concrete sidewalks on one side. We've got lots of people moving back and forth between Riverside, so it's an issue for me.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, I support the development. I do agree with Siobhan. I think one side of the street, because we do have so much snow, I do think that one side of the street should be not asphalt, but concrete. And the snow could be pushed into the swell on the other side. It's just, we just went through this with Riverside, and it's very, very important. I see on this plan, there is some trees next to the asphalt, and of course, that causes nothing but problems when the roots start to grow and the asphalt starts to swell. So, I do support this. This is very important for the community, and I'd sure like to see it come through. I'd sure love to see a concrete sidewalk.
Councillor Bailey.
Well, our discussion around Riverside and Main Street was to, I think, go concrete. I think if we are gonna do the whole town concrete and curb, we're dramatically changing a lot of things. Just in our I think we've had several presentations or discussions with Daryl about what that would mean for our snow removal and what that means around cost. And I don't think that's something we should be doing on every single street in Sycamoose. I don't think we need to set that high of a standard. Now, in some places like Riverside, Main Street and others where we've determined that that is something that we want for look and feel, I'm okay with that. But if we're going to go down every single side street and we're going to be saying we're going to do concrete sidewalks and curb and gutter throughout the entire Sycamoose, that's a standard that we're going to set. I think that's a really high standard, and I don't think that's going to be something that we're going to be able to maintain within our budget. Or I don't think it's actually probably a good use of our money. Yeah.
Thank you. Daryl?
Yeah, through the chair, just for some clarity, there are a number of different road cross sections that apply to different areas. When we're looking at like rural local roads, we don't recognize, that we need sidewalks in there. It's swaled. This classification is because of where it's at. So it's an RD3 urban collector. So with that in mind, there's provision for a concrete sidewalk. Now, the developer came to us and proposed something else. Operationally, we can make it work, but they understand this is a council decision. So we've worked with them to get to a point where we would be comfortable to work with this, but ultimately, I mean, we're town center, right?
Sarah?
Through the chair, I just want to note that the motion on the table is regarding the permit, the development permit, and not the variances. So just when we're voting on it, we're not voting on the
No, that's
variances
the
on
next
the
one.
motion. Yeah,
That's
just
the next one.
Yeah.
You want to save it for the next one?
2 seconds. Yeah.
Okay,
Can I just ask a question?
sure you can.
So It's, just to Nicole, you say that once we approve this, the whole Temple Street would have to then kind of conform with the multi-use path. So I assume if we went with concrete and gutter, then they're having to conform with that as well.
Yeah, so through the chair, whatever standard, whatever decision is made for the standard, it would be including the property to the right because they're tied to this agreement. And then in following days when development happened on the other side, that would be the standard we'd maintain.
But that's the next recommendation. This is just,
Can I just ask one more since I'm,
sure, yeah,
you know,
sure.
so there's already some things built out, right? There's existing properties there on Temple on that side. And like, why would they put curb and gutter in it, or would we do that?
So
I mean, there's a house on the corner there of Temple and that's already built out. There, unless we are planning on compelling them, why would they put concrete curb and gutter in?
So Nicole can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would be driven by any development permit that they come for in the future.
In the future.
Yeah.
So but yeah, this is the next, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get it. Let's talk
Sorry.
development permit. Let's back the train up. And are there any questions on recommendation one, authorizing the development permit? Councilor McCabe.
Well, there's a lot of information here, but just highlight on an emergency access again and snow storage and removal. Please.
Sorry, that's on the next one.
Oh, that's,
We're just talking about a
Yeah.
permit on this one. We're crisscrossing the lines here. So
Yeah.
the first one is the development permit. So let's get that one off the table first. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Okay, now there's a recommendation. The District of Sycamus Council authorize and issue development variance permit number 24107 DBP for the property legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan EPP 139195222 Temple Street. Could I get a mover on that one? Councillor Rich, Councillor Bushel. Now we can discuss the variances. So Malcolm, what is your question?
well, I'll wait for Nicole to speak to. Or
Okay.
Through the chair. So sorry for the confusion. So we do have the development permit and the development variance permit. It was one presentation for both. And so, yeah, so sorry about the confusion. I've already said everything I wanted to say. I was hoping that maybe Bianca could open up the site plan, the green one showing the 73 units. Because I think that would address the question. Yeah.
Okay, just wait.
Let's see, can you, yeah, maybe by 800%. And through the chair, do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Again,
Yeah, go ahead.
question is?
Go ahead, Malcolm.
yeah, thank you through the chair. It was just about the emergency vehicle access and snow storage. Is staff okay with both those?
Okay, through the chair. So in terms of emergency vehicle access, we did get turning templates for the development for standard emergency vehicle. It did meet all the parameters, all the turning. I think I didn't mention this, but the plan, you can see the phasing on here, 1 through 6. The plan is to build 1 and 2 first, but also build the, I guess I'll call it the north-south internal access route at the beginning as well. So if that, emergency access up to Fred Bush Lane was ever needed, that would be there. And then ultimately, yes, there might be some improvements when 5 and 6 come to Fred Bush Lane at full build out. So we did talk about a little bit earlier about removing some of the visitor parking just to make sure there was unobstructed access through there. We talked about the landscaping being pretty minimal along the road and more around the buildings, just to ensure that emergency access was maintained. And then maybe I could defer to Daryl for the snow storage.
For sure. Daryl, go ahead.
Yeah, well, through the chair, I mean, we'd be concerned with maintaining Temple Street and the subsequent sidewalk, whatever that was looking like. Internally, we wouldn't be in there worrying about the snow storage. I'm looking at that and thinking they'll probably have to haul it, stockpile it and haul it, but that's. Wouldn't,
As without curb and gutter.
No, this is internal.
Internal.
Oh,
Internally.
internal one, sorry. Okay. So when we did Shuswap, and Malcolm, you can refresh my memory, we did curb and gutter all the way down Shuswap Lane, right? From the seniors center right downtown. So I guess my question is, if if we were doing a development on Finlayson Street, if we had a developer that put a space in, like, just as an example where the medical center is, would we be requiring curb and gutter there? Is that part of our downtown core? Is that where our traffic is? Like, are we gonna look at that as a bike lane or a multi-path use as well? Because once we set this, it's gonna set a precedent for what we're gonna do outside the next streets off the downtown core, right? So I guess my question to council is, what does that look like in the future? Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, when we started the OCP back when, and Daryl was involved in all the conversations with Jeff and the crew, we always thought that the downtown core should have one sidewalk on one side of the street, not both, doesn't have to have both, because we always thought that you would need a place to push the snow and for the time being. When you get on Main Street where there's two sidewalks down both sides, sooner or later, it's all gonna fill in and you're not gonna be able to store any snow in there and you'll have to haul it like most municipalities. So we always said the downtown core would have one sidewalk on one side of the street, and that way Public Works could plow to the other side and put it in the swell area or in any other vacant spot. So that's where we did that years ago, and we've, we're kind of now, some of the areas like White Pine Crescent, which doesn't have a sidewalk, we were okay with a widening asphalt street so that we could put a bike lane all the way along, because they still had room to push snow on it. Here, you don't really have room to go in there if there's trees in the middle and push the snow all the way across the street. It'll have to be pushed with a small brush or a small Kubota. So, that's why I've always recommended a sidewalk on one side of the street. And that way, like especially around the seniors area, if the seniors wanted to go to Riverside and down Riverside to the restaurants or whatever, there'd be a nice sidewalk on one side of the street. And that's kind of where we were years ago, and we've, as far as I know, we're kind of still on that path.
Yeah. Times of we're changing, we're growing, right? We have sidewalks, we'll have sidewalks on both sides of Main Street now.
Main Street.
Yeah. But Councillor Bailey, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my issue is that most of Temple Street's already developed. We put this requirement in, or half of it's developed, let's say. We put this requirement in on that side. Anybody who does any sort of development of their homes or existing homes are gonna be forced to upgrade to this requirement. It just seems like we're gonna put the burden on those homeowners. Next time somebody wants to come and say, hey, I need a development permit. Oh, you gotta put curb and gutter in on your side. And I just wonder, like, is that absolutely necessary on Temple? Like, I mean, on Capel Street, we ripped up the sewers last year and we put in an asphalt, multi-use path. So it's one of these things that I think we've been confused as a council on what our standard is. I mean, we just went through this on Riverside, but we almost have to what is the standard gonna be and where does the curb and gutter stop? And, Main Street makes sense, 100%. Even Riverside, I'd say makes sense, 100%. Temple Street, I'm having a hard one on that. I don't think it it needs to be up at that level. Maybe Phillipson, if you look at some of the developments that could go there, we just got done talking about that we're gonna take Sue Schwab Ave and we're gonna make that less commercial and more residential. I'm just cognizant of the standards that we're gonna set and whether we can keep those standards going forward and what is the cost of that as well. So I'm more prone to accepting the multi-use asphalt path on Temple Street.
Councillor Rich and then Councillor Bushel, sorry, and Councillor Evans. Councillor Rich, you're first.
Through the chair. Yeah, and Councillor Bailey brought up a good point about Capel. Capel is a main, like it's a loop. People do the loop. And cars are parked all over it. Bikes, kids on bikes are weaving in and out of traffic. I'm on that street all the time and people don't respect that white line. And you also see it in front of G&G's, that white line, the school. People park boat trailers. They don't respect the asphalt. And I think with, especially, Hoban's, it's a 55 plus. We know the asphalt doesn't hold up for the heaving, and we've got lots of scooters. It's a nice loop and people will use it. It is a kind of a town center. It needs to be well maintained and so our old folks can get around and people can walk without having to be hit by a car or walk out into traffic.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, but this is a little different than White Pine and Capel, where that's part of the street and there's a white line. This actually has trees dividing the sidewalk to the street. And if it has light standard in there and trees. So you can't get in there with a loader and push it all the way across the other side of the street. So this is more protective for people walking, but it's not easy for the public works to get in there and push the snow like normal. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Thank you through the chair. I love this development. I just feel like we need to tweak it because I agree we need a sidewalk. We've got a lot of seniors, we got to take care of them. And I would want to see the trees not there as much as trees are nice so that it's easier for our public works guys to do their jobs and clear snow and I'm concerned about the width of the road too. Like I'm confused because I read 20 meters and that's a big difference between 20 feet. So I'm wondering what it is a question.
So
Darren.
through the chair. As per the subdivision servicing bylaw, the road right of way should be for this classification of road 25 meters. Part of the variance is they're asking we relax that to 20 meters.
60 feet.
65 feet.
65 feet. Okay.
I'm kind of leaning towards Councillor Bailey. I think there's a ditch swale between the sidewalk and the road. That'll protect pedestrians and cyclists. I mean, you'd have to fall in the ditch before you accidentally step out onto the road. And I think the lower standard for asphalt would work good in the side street.
Councillor Evans.
Would I be remiss in motioning to table this one more meeting so we can tweak it a little bit?
CAO.
Could look at it. We can take it back.
Council. Councillor Rich. Councillor Bushel.
I'd like to maybe hear from Nicole, because I think Ron is pushing for this. He's wanting to get going. So I don't want to hold it up. And I mean, I want the development to go ahead. It's a great development. It's housing. We need housing and I don't want to delay this anymore. So if we have to vote on it, I'd vote on it.
Councillor Bailey and then Nicole.
I guess maybe I'll ask a question. So the cost difference between the two options, I mean, we do concrete curb and gut. I guess we kind of went through this already. am I to understand that it would be a similar cost difference that we had that where we just kind of decided on Riverside and the Main Street? I mean, it was almost double the cost, wasn't it?
Well, part of that is just the timing and
Okay,
availability of contractors and that kind of thing and we were looking strictly at material costs for the whatever substrate we're using, whether it's asphalt or concrete. If we're talking about overall costs in this case, what they're proposing, asphalt would be X. The concrete would involve curb and gutter and storm. And so there's quite a lot more to it.
okay. And so I guess that just further to my point, like it's setting the standard much higher. And if we do it here, then we gotta, like, I mean, I'm a little concerned that we're gonna set the standard so high and then we're not gonna be able to practically meet it. I think in certain areas, it's okay, but storm gutter, concrete sidewalks, and the cost around it on every street. I mean, I think, I guess what I'm getting at is like, should we be defining what streets that we're actually gonna do this on and which ones we're not? Because I don't think we could practically do this throughout town is really what I come down to.
I think that we're just talking about the streets just on the outskirts or on the edge of town, like Finlayson and Temple and.
But that's a lot of street and sidewalk, and then could it go further? Like, I don't know, some people could make an argument for other streets. I mean, you use the example out front of my restaurant. Well, I mean, at what point do you say, okay, this is okay here and this is not okay there? I understand, you know, the rationale behind that cars will park on it. Well, I think we can deal with that through other mechanisms too. It can't just be curb and gutter. That's the only way to deal with it. I mean, you can deal with the bylaws, you can deal with it with putting in, you know, there's plastic barriers that you could put in that would prevent people from parking there. So there's different options that are probably far less expensive. That's all I'm just saying.
Go ahead, Bianca.
Just for clarity, so this all stems from the OCP, so this is our little map here.
Right.
So if it's a little bit harder to read. Really zoom in to see all the different colors for the different roads. And then those, using the legend, you have to go over to the servicing bylaw to figure out which one. So like this wouldn't be throughout town. Kind of like Colleen was just saying, these are all different colors. So every single one is different. So
So,
this one does have the same as Riverside, which we talked about in previous meeting. I think I'm on the right street. This one. You zoom in, it's like a light pink. If you look underneath this orange, it's also light pink, and that's what's determining the curb and gutter.
And what was Capel?
Capel is also light pink.
But we did.
Yes, correct.
There you go. Yeah.
okay, so could we do this? Because council's anxious to get this project moving and we want to get it approved and we want to work with the developer. So could we just propose to amend the DVP and figure out the sidewalk issue with council or staff, but keep it moving? We just amend it to the sidewalk and asphalt.
Staff works with the developer.
Staff or working with the developer. Is that okay? Can we do a friendly amendment to the DVP?
Through the chair. So I'm not sure if we can, but the amendment can be for staff to work with, because you're essentially approving what variances you're allowing. So, I mean, council could choose to amend the DVP to address that area of concern. Vote on that. Right? And then vote on the main motion if that amendment goes through. Maybe it doesn't. Or you just vote on it as is.
So the amendment would be,
Or postpone.
we don't want to postpone. I don't think the council wants to postpone. So what if we amend?
Yeah. Just checking.
What would you like us, okay, so can we just amend the DVP that staff work with the developer?
No,
The amendment, the chair, sorry, if the amendment would be to address the road dedication and the curb and gutter. And if you want to change that within the DVP, you could propose that motion to whatever council desires, right?
you'd have to make that decision.
You have to make that decision, or you vote on it as is.
One piece that's confusing, and I'm sorry to step in, but Sarah, we're talking about the roadway, and we've seen
Sorry.
the sidewalk that none of us have
Point.
seen.
Point of order. Sorry, this is council discussion right now. I mean, there'll be time for gallery input at the end. Yeah.
Sidewalk, it was shown, so as long as you know where the road is, whether.
Point of order. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Councilor Bailey.
I think we should pass this as is tonight. I mean, this is a fair discussion. I don't think this should be held up as part of it. I think staff did a lot of work with the developer. They've come up with this as being something they can work with. I feel comfortable with this.
Councilor, okay,
Well, I agree. There's a swale ditch, so cars aren't gonna inadvertently park with trailers on the sidewalk. There's a ditch between the road and the sidewalk. And yeah, I mean, pedestrians aren't gonna wander out onto the road and cars aren't gonna park on the sidewalk. There's a ditch that separates the two.
okay, so then let's just call the question, put on the recommendation, all in favor. It's carried.
That was easy.
Thank you. Wasn't that easy? It's complicated. All right, so Sigma's Fire Department grant application, Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. Recommendation that council support an application to the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund for $40,000 grant to support training and equipment for the Sycamoose Fire Department. Could I get a mover? Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bailey. Chief?
Oh. Things interesting, takes a while. Could be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I can start. There. So this is a standard grant we pretty much apply for every year, through UBCM, for $40,000, which is the maximum that UBCM puts out every year. Usually, it has actually been increased this year from 30,000. It has been in the past. So $40,000, and the chief will talk about what they're planning on buying with this grant.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. So we're looking at purchasing new equipment, including installation of training and for eligible equipment. The majority of it's going to be PPE. The grant will be to replace and repair protective equipment, especially PPE. Right now, some of our turnout gear is out of date and not in a safe manner to use for structural firefighting or other rescue procedures. So we're going to be upgrading that worn gear, the outdated gear, and ensuring that all firefighters are equipped with the PPE that provides necessary protection for their safety. And by addressing these deficiencies, we will enhance that safety and effectiveness for our team and ensuring compliance. So that's what we're looking at this time.
Council, any questions? Let's call the question, all in favor? And that's carried. Kate, we're going to go to amend firefighters and officer remuneration policy number F10. Shauna, did you want to?
Hi, thank you. So we're just looking at tonight, a revised remuneration policy for the fire department. This policy hasn't been looked at since 2017, so it's well timed to do it. We started the process last year, but then with the leaving of the old fire chief and a new fire chief coming in, we decided to wait till that was a little bit established. Fire chief has looked at sort of the structure of the fire department, is have a really quick organizational structure there. And we're looking, the policy is just looking to reflect that structure, starting with our officers and moving down to full-fledged firefighters, and then to recruits and trainees and probationary firefighters. So it's just with the formalization of the organization structure within Sickness Fire Rescue, then we're just looking to have our remuneration policy align with that. So I had put into the staff report some proposed changes, just looking at the housekeeping, really looking at changing everything to reflect Sickness Fire Rescue, which is sort of the new branding of the fire department. And then as well, a change in the definition of what we consider a member to reflect a paid on call. It's been this whole evolution within fire departments at local municipalities from volunteer to paid on call. And that's just the reflection of what they're considered through employment standards. They are actually employees, paid on call auxiliary employees. So then the first part is the honorariums, just looking at changing some of those monthly amounts to reflect the level of responsibilities that those officer positions carry within the department. There are some positions where what's proposed in the policy as we are making changes may be less than what a current member is actually receiving, and we're just looking to grandfather anybody in with what their current rate is. If they would be looking at a decrease, and that decrease wouldn't come into effect until that has been changed. Then we look at the hourly rates, and rates are paid when there are incident call-outs, practices. Anything other than that is paid in a different way. If we're looking at standby call on the weekends, they get a daily rate, as well as any training is paid at the lesser rate. And we're looking at, I think our rate used to be $13 an hour for training and for probationary recruits, which is well below, even though there are portions when it comes to employees that they are exempt from employment standards, we still want to keep up with what that's looking like. And so we're looking to propose the training increase to $18 an hour, and then looking at a probation, once they've gone through their training period and they're a probationary firefighter, would increase to the $20 and then to $22, pardon me. And then also the hourly rates. We've just been taking a look at what that structure looks like within the OFC, or within the Office of Fire Commissioner and their playbook. And the structure actually is very reflective, or reflects exactly what that looks like. So we take a base rate, and that base rate that we've chosen is for a fully qualified firefighter. And then from there, decrease that, the rates that we've proposed are actually a decrease, right? Whether it's 90% or 80% based on whether they're probationary or a firefighter, but not a first-class firefighter, and then increasing a percentage as they move up in the structure that has been proposed by the fire chief. The other piece that we've really taken a look at in there, so fire calls, currently we have a 2-hour minimum that gets paid out. So say they get paid out, it's false alarm and they get a stand down. Those members are getting 2 hours. We've reduced that to 1 hour, and that's very indicative of what happens within local governments throughout British Columbia, as a 1 hour minimum, as opposed to a 2-hour. Practices, not much changing in that. The training rate, just incorporating some training within that and increasing that to the proposed $18 an hour. And then just some clarity on what is considered training and what's approved and not approved. Special events, once again, just looking at, some clarity around what is considered a special event and what members would get paid for. And there are some instances where some of those hours are volunteered. And then the last piece, which has really just been an evolution over the last couple of years, when we look at wildland deployment. Right, when our firefighters are seconded by the province to go out on deployment, And so what we've implemented there is we put wording into the policy. It wasn't really reflected previously or not to the clarity that we needed, as well as we've implemented a temporary employment contract because they're working outside the terms of this policy. Any questions on anything else on the financial implications or the legal sort of statutory obligations we have? Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Did you put an annual dollar increase in how much this will cost? How much the increase will cost on an annual basis? So I did some quick math and I don't know, I got up between 15,000, 18,000 more annually for all these changes combined.
Yeah, you're correct. Just over 17,000.
So how about if I read the resolution? We can go into council discussion, okay? So that we know what we're. Recommendation that council amend the firefighters and officer remuneration policy number F-10 as presented, and that council adopt the firefighter and officer remuneration policy number F-10 as presented, replacing the current firefighter and officer remuneration policy number F-10 effective October 1st, 2024. Can I get a move for Councillor Evans, Councillor Rich? Okay.
Same question.
Same question. Councillor Beach.
I think that our firemen are extremely important, and they work at high risk to protect our community, and when they're deployed to protect whatever community is under threat, and they're worth putting more money into salaries or pay for them. So I agree with increasing the amount that they.
Thanks, Councillor Beach. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, just a question. We're in bargaining this year, aren't we?
We're in bargaining with regards to our unionized staff.
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah, okay.
And this does not fall into that.
No, I'm just trying to, I mean, I think this has to be adjusted anyways, but I think as we're gonna be talking about our budget process a little bit later on here. But I mean, there's some pretty big, I think, dollar figures and financial pressures coming up, and I don't know, we're gonna have to certainly get a pretty good handle on it, because this will go directly to tax increase and other implications. But I mean, I do support it, but I do wonder, we keep doing this one-offs, are we gonna do, or we're gonna miss the big picture when it comes to the budget overall?
I think this hasn't been changed for like 7 years.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
It's fair.
Yeah, I'm not questioning it's not fair.
But we will have to figure it out, because I do think our fire department and our volunteers are worth it. And I think that I definitely agree and want to move forward with this. Councillor McCabe.
I guess thank you, through the chair to Chief Financial Officer. We're basically voting on $17,000 annual increase in our budget. Is that budgeted?
This increase, because it would only be applied for 4 months of the year, if we were to make it effective October 1st, 2024, because we end up paying them the next month, so we could still pay them for October under this. Take it divided by, it doesn't really warrant a budget amendment in my mind.
Thank you.
Councillor Bushel and then Councillor Evans.
Yeah, through the chair, I support it 100%, just other than the timing. And I mean, we're going into budget deliberations fairly quickly. And it would be great if we could hang on till then, but I support it 100%.
Councillor Evans. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, I think 2017 was the year you said, Shauna. I think it's time. 4 months, yeah. Could it have come through budget? Yes, but I think should be a yes.
Anyone else? Let's call the question. All in favor? Carried. Municipal wastewater registration. Daryl, do you want to take that away?
Sure, through the chair. As mentioned in the committee of the whole meeting earlier today, I'd be coming for you tonight. As a function of our purchasing policy, we're looking to secure Stantec Consulting to help lead us through the registration process for the wastewater treatment plant. Provincial regulations stipulate that any municipalities requesting more than 10% increase go through this process. And we're putting this before you for consideration, that we keep working with Stantec and get the ball rolling on our monitoring and reporting.
Great, thank you. This recommendation that council approves Stantec Consulting Limited as a contractor to lead the district of Sycamoose through the provincial municipal wastewater registration process for an amount not to exceed 227,025, and then a 2024 budget increase of 85,000 be funded through the sewer operating reserve. Could I get a mover? Councillor Evans, Councillor Rich. Council, do you want to share some of your thoughts that we shared earlier today when this was discussed in Cal? Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, to reiterate what I said this afternoon is I think these are rules that are being made up in the province and some bureaucratic offices that are having real effects on municipal budgets and the amount of money that gets spent on reports just to get to something that we've already had a report on that says we can do. We had Stantec do a report saying our sewage treatment plant has no problem operating at 2,000 cubes per day. But this is now something internal. They've decided in this part of this registration process, going to do this, you have to go and jump through these hoops. But this is $227,000 that could go for curb and gutter and storm sewer, that we're going to put towards a study that may or may not be accepted and may or may not actually give us what we want at the end. It's just a lot of money to spend, and it's unfortunately something we have to do, but this is a provincial choice.
So that was a conversation this afternoon. It was kicking around the provincial government for coming up with the downloading and the studies, and that it's really impacting communities, districts with, their finances. But there is, I think, Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to do this study. There's a 3-month period, which could bring the costs down maybe depending on how
That's correct.
study.
Yeah, through the chair. It's a 12-month monitoring program. After 3 months, we'll get it reevaluated by the province. And if there's some things we can relax at that point, we will.
Anyone else? It's good. This is a tough one. It's called the question. All in favor? That's carried. Ouch. 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 Okay, wait, don't go away. Water treatment plant membrane replacement. Daryl, you want to take that one?
Sure, through the chair. As mentioned in the committee of the whole meeting earlier today, be coming tonight. Again, this is a function of our purchasing policy, F5. Any purchases over 50,000 require council approval. So this is a budgeted amount that we've put away since when we commissioned the water treatment plant 10 years ago. Locked into a 10-year fixed price agreement with the manufacturer of the membranes. That is expiring right at the time where we're needing second stage filters to be replaced. So I'm recommending that we purchase 60 new ultrafiltration membranes. We load them up on one complete train and we repurpose those into the plant. So we're utilizing some good used stuff everywhere within the plant to increase capacity and extend the life of the overall package of membranes. And we're utilizing the fixed price agreement to the maximum.
Thanks, Daryl, and hats off to you and the staff. I think you guys did a really great job of repurposing the ones that are already there and just putting the new ones in the right space. And also the fact that the cost this year is a lot less than the cost next year. So we do have to move on that because it's a huge cost savings. It's the price. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly the same thing. I mean, not often do you hear government saving you a boatload of money, but because of our staff and Daryl and all the hard work
Mhm.
made, it just saved the district $240,000 because we're taking advantage of an old agreement that expires this year. And next year, if we did this next year, it'd be $240,000 more. So, I mean, this is a really good sign of solid management from you guys in Public Works and, yeah, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Daryl. Counselor Bushel.
And also to add to that, Daryl, thank your staff for getting an extra 4 years life out of those cartridges.
Yeah.
They recommended six years and we're getting 10 years out of them.
Right, and I will just state, if we're gonna talk about the guys. I've got that comment from the manufacturer, how well Colin and Skylar and the boys have looked after those membranes with the regular cleaning and not over cleaning, and it's a balance with the chemicals and the hypo and what they use to keep those membranes running top notch. The manufacturer is really impressed with what they did as well.
That's awesome.
I'll pass it on.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Great job. Okay, let's call the,
Yeah, can I just say kudos to Daryl and the operations team for really doing a good job. Thanks, Daryl.
I'm sorry?
I think we need to move.
Oh, did I not? Oh, I did.
I might have missed it.
Maybe I didn't. Recommendation that council approve purchase of the ultrafiltration membranes from the
It's just
Water Technologies and Solutions Canada not to exceed the quoted amount of $237,480 plus applicable taxes. I guess I did not because I don't remember that. Councillor Evans and Councillor Bushel, there you have it, your first turn seconder. The question, all in favor? Okay. Okay. Right, there's, oh. Lease modification agreement, 502 Cedar Street, Kids Kingdom Childcare Society. Bianca, you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, so this modification agreement has been prepared now that the renovations at King's Kingdom have been completed, which is our district-owned facility operated by King's Kingdom. So updating a few things. So first thing would be point A and C. Sections A and C. So the first part is, so we have in here that rent will be reviewed upon 18 months of operation post renovations. That's just putting clarity in this point that that date will now be January 1st, 2026, where we can revisit if we will be charging rent or not, and then also utilities down below. It is following 18 months of operation. So renos ended at the end of June. So 18 months is January 1st, 2026. The next part is, so we have in here a reference to Schedule A in a lease agreement, When this lease agreement was done up, it was for some parts of it, kind of a copy and paste from the prior lease agreement. So we have this lovely Schedule A that was included in the old lease agreement. The modification agreement removes this. This went into as much detail as 2 small tricycles. So we're just scrapping this. There's new equipment in there. Everything's brand new. Daryl and Kelly worked with King's Kingdom to determine what could be used, what could be moved around. We had a dishwasher moved to a different facility, worked with this. So this is getting scrapped and the wording is getting changed to be a little more simplified, to just talk about permanent fixtures, appliances, and childcare equipment. And then up here, so then other things. So we did budget $100,000 in our budget for 2024 to go towards the facility, knowing that there was renovations being done. 20,000 has been spent on hydro upgrades at the facility, and this modification agreement is proposing $80,000 be paid to King's Kingdom to acknowledge the contribution they've made to the building and the value it's brought. So renovations completed on 502 Cedar Street include a whole list of things, expansion of square footage, new roof, new water and sanitary lines, complete interior renovations and configuration, new paving, 2 new playgrounds and equipment, all interior furniture and daycare equipment, new HVAC system, new alarm system. And in doing all of that, they required a bunch of professionals to sign off on it. And there's been pictures, I'm sure quite a few of you have actually visited the facility, but there's pictures below. So it works out to about just over $18 a square foot. But of course, it's not just the building, there's more to that, so it's actually a bit lower. They did receive grant funding for the renovation, but it did not cover everything. And this portion is well under what King's Kingdom is renting themselves. So, and then the last piece, which Amar has brought up, is in this modification agreement. We've included to lengthen the term of the lease from 15 years to 25 years. Speaking to Amar and on behalf of King's Kingdom, he says we're in it for the long haul. Currently, it's going great. Operations are really good. They're entering into other lease agreements of 25 years, and he is comfortable entering into this as well. If council were to choose, if council would like to just keep this at 15 years, he's fine with that. But just putting it out there that he's here for the long term. And yeah. So, council wants.
Thank you. So there is a resolution here, recommendation that council authorize the mayor and corporate officer to enter into the lease modification agreement with Kids Kingdom Childcare Society this 9th day of October 2024. Councillor Evans, Councillor Rich. Discussion, Councillor McCabe.
This was my 3rd year in council for 10 years in, and this is 10 years in the making. So we have a top-notch licensed daycare in Sicamous that we've been trying to achieve for 10 years, and we're finally there. So it's great news.
Thank you. Hats off to Bob. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, and like I mentioned in my councilor's report earlier today, I don't know if any of you have been over there to have a look. It's just amazing what they've done and their staff. It's just amazing, and it's like full of kids running around, and it's really well organized and really nicely done. So I support this 100%.
Any other comments? Councillor Rich.
Yeah, through the chair. Just a question. So we're giving them 18 months free rent till we discuss that, and then we're gonna give them 80 grand? Is that was?
You give them 80 grand now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for when it hits January 1st, 2026.
Yeah.
That's when we are to negotiate if there's to be rent paid.
Okay, so they've got free rent now, and we're gonna give them 80.
12.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Evans.
Yeah, it's just fantastic that this facility's full of kids. It's been renovated. They tripled play space. They moved the preschool over there. And it's just a multi-use facility for all these age of kids. I'm in favor of it being 25-year lease, and I'm glad that we can continue to give them a little bit of a break for another 18 months so they can continue to start strong, and this would be a forever facility here.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Bailey.
I just have a question just on the financial piece. So $100,000 will be given to them as part of, well, we've given them 20, we're giving them another 80.
We paid the BC Hydro invoices directly.
No.
Yeah.
Just, so we budgeted in 2024 of $80,000 to go towards the renovation costs.
We budgeted 100,000 towards the renovation costs. Based on the estimated budget for the renovation.
Yeah.
Which at the time was like 10% of the budgeted. And then we've paid 20 of that 100.
Yeah.
Directly to BC Hydro. And then this is using the remainder 80 as a tenant improvement payment.
Okay, and then you said when it comes to January 2026, we'll negotiate whether they pay rent or they will start paying rent in January.
It's put in it was put in the previous lease agreement. And I've left the wording the same, but that is when we negotiate rent to start that date. So we'll be starting those discussions beforehand, and that'll include full disclosure of financial statements and all of that.
Okay, and then we'll determine what the rent is at that time based on what, I guess it kind of looks like how it's operating.
Right.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Counselor Evans.
Yeah, and the 80,000 that we're gonna give them are towards the massive amount of renovations that have been done to our building. So it's an investment in our space. So
Just one more, and I just wanted to make it clear. How much was the grants the province gave towards the building?
It was $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah, just over $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, notices of motion, are there any notices of motion to consider for inclusion on the next agenda? Council? This is new. That's why we all look like deer in the headlights right now. Sarah threw a zinger in. So, and I'm just gonna pretend I know what I'm doing because I thought you guys would just jump right in on that. So
May I?
go ahead.
Okay, so in the council procedure bylaw, council members have the ability to submit a notice of motion in writing by I think it's the Wednesday prior to a meeting. However, you can verbally state in a meeting, hey, next meeting, I'm bringing this notice of motion forward. So it's just practice of doing our procedure bylaw, knowing that you have that option. Sorry.
Anyone? I think we're good this turn. Okay, resolutions. Select Finance Committee meeting dates. Staff has proposed the committee meet on November 13th and 27th, December 11th, January 22nd, 2025, and February 26th, 2025. Now, these dates are the same dates as these meetings. So it's staff is proposing, instead of starting at 1, we start at 10 on those dates, and we're here. So I guess the question, and the reason we brought this up was the question to you guys is, it's a big day, right? And you want to be still on your game by the time you get to regular council meeting. And finance meetings can be a little bit brain drain. So I guess what we're asking is, do you guys want to do finance meetings on the same day as council meetings, or do you want to do them the day before, the Tuesday, and have council meetings on the Wednesday? Councillor Evans and Councillor Bailey.
thank you through the chair. For myself, it's better to do it all in one day. Because it takes a big chunk out of the previous day. I can use a day out of my holidays from my day job to take a day off to do this work.
Councillor Bailey.
Well, okay, it's a little bit off that topic as well. I'd like to start our process a little later because last year we were waiting on the assessments until like January. And the other thing is, and I think I brought this up last year when we talked about our finance and our budget process, is that I guess I've been used to a budget process where we would have like a draft budget, we would know what the tax increase is, like kind of how we do, we go about it now is we're voting on stuff, but we don't actually know what the potential impact on the taxes is because we haven't gotten all that other information. And I just question why we started so early when we're still actually, I think, finalizing the budget in March, April. And why we started in November. If not, I think we could start the budget process sometime in December and then have the information come in a little, when we start later, we're going to have the information. But I mean, personally, for me, I'd like to know if we pass this budget and if everything stayed the same, what is the tax implications of that? And I think this usually, I mean, part of the process in a lot of municipalities is staff prepare a budget. And then it comes to council and it's like, okay, here's what we're proposing. And then council would go back and say, well, we obviously can't do a 7 or 8% tax increase. So where are we looking to make those savings? And I'm throwing it out there. I just think we're starting this a little too early because we don't have all the information.
Thanks, Councillor Lee. Councillor McKay.
Same day.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, no.
A little shorter, right?
Yeah.
That was a lot shorter. Staff, how, I get,
Okay.
we've always been part of the process. Staff, we've never, in the 10 years that I've been on council, we've never said, hey, staff, bring us a draft. We've always been day one part of the process where we can go line by line and pick and, choose. So I think that's why you don't get a draft copy, because we have been part of that process to get to where we get when we do the financials. So Bianca, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open for whatever. I mean, when I was in seminar, what we did was we did it usually in December and we had like a whole day of budget deliberations. We did it not during a regular council day and you pretty much spent all day in here and we went through every department and what they did was they put it up here. They said, this is staff's proposed budget increase with all the changes that we're proposing. And then if there was changes, we typed it in and it showed us what the difference was gonna be.
I like that.
I like that.
That is
Like
an option if you wanna do a full day with me. But I would say it would have to be in December.
Yeah.
And that's how we get it cleaned up more. And then I would keep January and February, they'd be a little bit later. That would just be like January, clean it up, anything you want to tweak. And then February, I present you with like the draft financial plan, get your blessing and take to next council meeting and you vote on the financial plan.
Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach.
I like Bianca's plan and I also like the idea that we get in here and we just focus on it on one day. I like that.
Yeah,
There you go. Malcolm,
Agree.
you're agreeing? Okay, everybody, one day, we go hard one day. Sarah,
Okay.
sorry,
Oh,
Sarah?
sorry. I was just saying that our meeting in December is the 11th. So if that's one full day of budget, are you thinking the 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's our regular council meeting, right? December 11th?
Yeah,
So that would be,
So December
whole day.
10th and then continuing on with January 22nd and
Yep.
February 26th. On council days, because those will be lighter. Does that work?
does everyone like that?
Yes, that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Right, so, okay, December the 10th from 9 till
Fine.
whatever, or do you want to go 10? 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., what do you want?
Do 10.
Okay, Councillor Evans?
Have to leave at 4 o'clock that day. I have kids zone on Tuesday nights. I will be out the door at 4, just so you guys know.
Maybe make it 9.
Can we do 9?
9?
We do 9?
At 9?
Okay, is everyone good with 9?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, let's do 9 to 4.
Yeah.
On December the 10th. Then January the 22nd, we are 10 a.m. to after meeting, and February 26th, we are 10 a.m. till after meeting.
Yeah.
Hey, you're all good?
But then we just need to pick a chair as well.
Yeah, we're moving into that. So based on the following discussion, that the council establish a select finance committee for 2025 budget deliberations with all council members appointed to the committee. And who would council like to appoint as their chair? Councillor McCabe?
Why don't we just keep the same structure and you chair it as mayor? It'll be the whole council discussing the finance. And just keep the structure way it is.
Councillor Bushel?
I hate chairing meetings, so I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't, it would be good if other, like the new, I shouldn't say the newer, but the newer council members get used to chairing meetings, and I'd sooner bow out of like the planning meeting and put somebody newer in, like, just to get everybody used to doing it. That's what I mean, I've done the finance one a couple times and I don't need to do it again, but I would recommend somebody like Siobhan or Pam or
Your last one.
Or Siobhan.
Bob is the last one.
I did last year.
I mean, I would recommend Siobhan and then, people can. I mean, this is, she's probably like, no, but I mean, it's good experience. People can chair a meeting and I mean, that's.
Are you good with that?
I'm fine with
Okay, then, Counselor Rich appointed as chair and that the Select Finance Committee be scheduled at 9 AM in council chambers on the following dates: November the 10th, 2024, and then switch to 10 AM, January the 22nd, 2025, and 10 AM, January the 26th, 2025. February.
Numbered.
Counselor Evans,
Thank you. Did you say November or December? You said.
December.
Yeah, thank you. I need to.
Come in a pair. Okay. Hey, Councilman.
First and second on that?
No.
Seconding it. Any more discussion?
Mm.
It's done.
No, we.
Hey, all in favor.
Like to.
Let's have this conversation.
Okay.
And see, this is why you can't have the
Yeah.
finance committee meeting in the morning and still be here at 7 o'clock, right? Because this is still what 7 o'clock, it's like without starting early. Okay, Chief Administration Officer appointment recommendation that Daryl Garceau be appointed as Chief Administration Officer for the District of Sycamus on the 9th day of October 2024. Can I get a mover? Counselor Evans, Counselor Bailey. All in favor? Sorry, let me back that up. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Okay, carried. So now.
Thank you.
So,
I'm stepping out on this.
what, the oath of office?
We're done. Office, yeah.
Who's that?
Not on there, but she has to do it.
So Daryl, did you want to come up and read the oath of office, please? And did you guys
Oh.
do the speaker? Kenton?
Yes.
Huh?
To take a picture.
I didn't see that on the agenda.
It isn't.
No.
Be right in.
That's why you didn't.
The can, the pop can.
Okay, so thank you very much. It's a privilege to read this. I, Daryl Garceau, do swear solemnly affirm that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially, to the best of my knowledge and ability, execute the office of Chief Administrative Officer to which I have been appointed for the District of Sycamus. I will treat all matters and information that comes to my attention as a result of my office in confidence. I have not received, nor will I receive or accept any payment or reward or promise of either in return for the exercise of my powers, duties, and functions other than as permitted by the district. I will not allow my personal interests to conflict with the duties of my office, and I will comply with all policies and directives of the district and comply with all laws. Sworn and affirmed before me at Sycamus, British Columbia on this 9th day of October, 2024.
Oh, am I signing this?
Like one photo of you guys together and then.
Hey.
We have the seal as well. We'll
Seal it?
seal it.
I have to work on that.
No. What do you think about it?
Here, we're here.
Thank you very much.
You got the shot that you wanted?
Can I get one of you guys together? You guys. Thank you. Congratulations, Daryl.
Thank you very much.
Got it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, correspondence, Eagle Valley Transportation Society is a request. Was a president, so, would you like to And why you're recusing yourself?
Because I'm.
Okay,
There you go.
And I signed a request for the money.
Yeah.
hey. Jessica McCabe, are you online?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Perfect.
Do you want to address the correspondence, the support?
Yes, Jessica McCabe, Coordinator for Eagle Valley Transportation, and just speaking on behalf of Malcolm McCabe in requesting some sustainable funding to help with EVT and all our insurances.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Council, do you have any questions, Councillor McCabe? Councillor Evans?
Okay, it's 7 PM. It's all good. Thank you through the chair. No, I just wanted to just talk about how important this is. I'm one of the drivers for this, and at least once a month, I'm taking a senior to an appointment that they would not be able to get there on their own. Anything from MRIs to ophthalmologists or to heart surgery in Kelowna. So it's very important and great service that we can provide for people in this town.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beach?
Yeah, and I could just add to that because before EVT came along, the Eagle Valley Community Support Society was trying to find rides for people all the time, and we don't get funding for it, and we don't, but we would try and help out. So this has been huge to our community to have EVT come in. And now we still do provide rides, but for sort of the more complicated disabled people and also, you know, sort of at-risk people.
Thank you. I think it's fair to say that we all agree that this is a great service to our community and we don't want to lose it. I would like to make a suggestion that we defer this to the budget process as opposed to taking care of this tonight. I'd like to have a discussion at budget time. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think because this is a multi-year agreement as well, that would have to be. And then maybe a part of budget, I just add another piece to it, is that we do have these requests, and I believe we do this for other organizations as well. I think the Red Barn or something, we have a multi-year agreement as well. So should we be thinking about, you know, is there a fund or something we do or some sort of parameters we put in place to deal with these sort of requests? And I don't know, I can see that there's more need for this. And maybe it's time for us to think about, there's some really core kind of groups like Eagle Valley Transportation, like the Red Barn. How would we enter into these multi-year agreements to help them continue to serve the community? I don't know, I just know that as.
I agree. Bianca, can you take us down that path during budgeting process? Because some of this stuff is budgeted in 5 years and it's already on a line, but maybe we can refresh it and just let us know if there's another solution or we can figure out another solution or.
One thing that I know some other municipalities do is in their budget process, they call early for any community input on items that they want to see supported. But do that, or just like, hey, like more of our public engagement early on, so that like come now December, when we start that, we can have a list of, you know, these are all the requests we've received through that public output. And then council can decide if they want to include any of that.
That's a good idea. Okay, Councillor Bushel and Councillor Rich.
Up to the chair, do they have financial statements?
Sorry, Jessica?
Nope, through the chairs, we do not right now. Our bookkeeper was preparing them this afternoon and had to take her dog to the vet. So we can have them tomorrow by noon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Rich.
Yeah, through the chair, I was going to say that with Shuswap Communities, which we give grants, but every year you have to reapply. We do have financials, like there's actually a criteria. Well, Bianca, you've seen it, that we have to go, that you go through before you apply. You know, so if we had a list of people that wanted it, told them what they have to to look at it and then have the money put aside that we have it, so it's not always, we're kind of panicking to try and find money.
So through the community funds or through the,
We do that through the community funds, but those are yearly grants, right? So anybody, if you fit the criteria, you apply, right? And then we sit down and look at everything and we have financials. They have to give us all their financials. So if it could be a 5-year program. They don't have to apply every year. We could do our own thing in-house for special groups. But, there's a criteria and financials have to be part of it.
okay. Okay, so let's just defer this to the budget, put as a line item in the budget.
Yeah, so
Do we need to make a motion
the
to,
chair, no, I think I
got it?
get where everyone's going. So when I bring like our draft recommended budget, we'll have it in there, and then if you wanted to cut it, right?
Correct,
And then we can work on that agreement with them.
correct.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Chair, so does staff need direction to draft the agreement? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, bring Malcolm back in. Okay, the late item tonight was Sycamus and District Chamber of Commerce letter of support request. Go ahead, Campton.
Hello, through the chair. So just a little bit of background on this. We received a request for a letter of support from the Sycamus and District Chamber of Commerce earlier this week. And it's been added as a late item because it's timely. Their grant application is actually due tomorrow. So just for context, this is a grant application for the Economic Trust of the Southern Interior Building Economic Development Capacity Program. So as you can see in the letter, they proposed a project and that will be in their grant application. And then just for clarity, we do have a letter drafted. So if council should decide to support this, we'll have that letter ready to go for tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Bailey.
I'm just gonna make the motion.
That's
That's all I was.
We have a motion here. The council send a letter of support to the district, Sycamus and District Chamber of Commerce application to the ETSI-BC Building Economic Development Capacity Program. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach. Any more discussion on this? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor, and that's passed. Thank you. Correspondence for information. Has everyone gone through the correspondence? Go ahead, Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, I was reading the CSRD one in regards to the rail trail. And I see that the CSRD, Spatsine and Nord made a letter to Minister Fleming in regards to the rail trail. Would it be possible to have Phil come in and do another updated proposal on the rail trail to council? Like understanding that they finished the 3.5 kilometers of trail. Now it's not going to open until 2027. How are we going to open it? Are we going to try to open it from somewhere else? Or are we going to not touch it till 2027? So just an update from Phil, if he had time to come in and give us a presentation like he did last year, I guess it was last year.
CAO.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Anderson, members of council. That request for a meeting has been asked for them to present.
Okay.
Right, so I've reached out to Phil, so I'm just waiting to hear back as to a date that he can accommodate, including the technical committee. And if I may, can I just speak to the letter? So we met with Micah with MOTI the other day. So she's confirmed that they're within a week and a half, they're gonna have a response. But there was a meeting scheduled for October 10th, which has been canceled, but then rescheduled to October 25th. So the intent there is to once again meet with ministry, have that conversation about and address the safety concerns that have been identified. Daryl and I and Micah and her team were on site to have a look at that as well. So we hope that some resolve. It's been like Micah knows exactly what the concerns are. The group just wants to once again revisit it and then emphasize that it is a responsibility and that there are serious concerns relative to that connection.
And the connection isn't really that big. It's
No. No, because
feet.
if I may, yeah, because when you. So the new road basically come in, so if you're coming off the bridge on the west side, then you're gonna come down to the decommissioned Old Spellentine Road, right, on that section, as you come down. And then, so the new road will be below the bridge deck. There is quite the physical barrier between the new road and then the road that's taken out, which becomes the trail. And then when you get to that
Congreve.
the crossing over to Congreve is really what, the length of this room from where we were standing? Maybe it's out into the reception area, so.
Much further.
No, because when they identify in the letter, the 165 meters, that takes in consideration what is kind of upstream of what we're talking about. But there is that really big physical barrier from the new road and the trail. I'm not suggesting that that speaks to all the safety issues, but that has a physical separation. Still the concern remains about the 1.5 meter shoulder and the crossing on that road.
Thank you. Counselor Bailey.
Yeah, on the same issue that I guess also, this would maybe speak to why we would need Phil to come here, just about when they're gonna actually open it, because right now there's signs that say don't trespass, and if you do trespass, call somebody. And what I got from this letter, and I hope I'm reading it wrong, is that they're gonna have it closed till after the Broom Bridge is, no? Okay, I kind of read that it's closed and it won't be open until the Broom Bridge is completed or it's connected. Do we have any information on that at all?
Go ahead, Seal.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Just I guess the messaging that you're interpreting is that when the work is undertaken, because that includes the new road, right? So the timeliness of that construction, in terms of the overall bridge construction, needs to be vetted and defined. Because as it is now, that connection from the work that's undertaken, if they come to the 0.5 kilometer, right, the last stretch, okay, that's part of the scope of this discussion.
So their plan is to get the trail open as soon as it's safe, right? You know, regardless of the Broom Bridge. Okay.
Correct.
Great.
And they're finishing off. They've been working on
Okay.
it these last couple of weeks.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, let's move on. Committee and regional district reports, we're receiving these for information. Does anyone have any comments on these? Okay. And here we are at 7:17, going into public input. Yep, Mary, go ahead.
Hey, getting back to Sycamores Houseboats. I would like to speak on lowering your boats. Now, is there a property or has it been discussed with them for public parking? Because there is a public boat ramp there. And if they're gonna be doing all this development, I think we should really be looking at this because it's gonna be a huge problem with the Broom Bridge because we're not gonna have our public. And I don't know how many people are aware that that is a public boat launch. And to what area does it cover? I have no idea. I've never checked into it. And there are other places along Riverside Road that go right down to the channel. I don't know, the one down by White Pine, where you turn right in, you go right down to the water there, whether another boat launch could be there. But the problem, yes, there probably could be one put there quite easily, but there again, you're gonna run into parking. You know, offhand, is there any parking at waterways as of now?
At Sycamores Houseboats?
Yeah.
No, I think the only parking that they do have is on Mervyn Road, just off the side of Mervyn Road, the same space that Waterway used to have theirs in there.
If I took my boat down there, could I park there?
Yeah, you could park along the roadway. That is public parking on Mervyn Road.
With
And-
any development, maybe they would contribute a certain area
Mm,
in negotiations.
yeah, that we could ask staff to have them speak to maybe the developer and see if there's an opportunity for some public parking down there, because you are correct. That is a public boat launch and it caters to the whole area. So,
It's just not really talked about it.
correct, yeah. So maybe we can ask staff to. Is that okay, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, Gordon and I did a site, we walked down there a few months ago and Mary, you're quite right. It was actually one of the things we thought about too, like this is a public boat launch. We want the public to be able to use it. But yeah, the difficulty with parking is pretty extreme down there. I don't know if there's a good solution, but I think this is, Mary touches on a really good point. We talked about it before about public assets that aren't well known to be public assets. And people are confused whether this is something they can use. And I think we probably need to do generally a better job of letting people know that anybody can launch boats at any of these docks.
I think that staff did do some social media with all of the boat launches and everywhere that they could. And absolutely parking alongside Mervyn Road is definitely okay to do. So Councillor Bushel, then Councillor Rich.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I park out there all the time and take my boat out there all launching. There's lots of room, but there could be more. And, you know, maybe if Daryl has a moment, one day we could drive out there. I get some ideas. There's still lots of room there that's still be utilized
Perfect.
in the right of way.
Councillor Rich.
Yeah, through the chair. Staff did a good job. I think it was about, it maybe was not this summer, last summer.
Maybe.
They did a campaign and I think it was actually Tuesday trivia too. I think there's 7 of them. But there, it has, but maybe be revisited.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Anyone else in the gallery have any questions or comments? Go ahead, state your name, please.
My name is Al Zagar. Do you want me to talk here or the mic?
You can talk at the mic.
They're not on anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they're on.
I think it's on.
Okay, my voice will be loud enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Al Zagar. I was born and raised in Sicamous. And then from there, I moved to Vancouver, joined the Vancouver Fire Department. I worked there for just over 28 years and retired as a fire captain. I've now come back to Sicamous and I have purchased my mom's property that's been in our family for 60 years on Temple Street. So what I've done, I've talked to a lot of the seniors in the area, and there's lots of concerns with the development. We're in favor of it. But before I start, I just wanted to let you know, I have 80 names from everybody in that surrounding area. I know that the district likes paper because it gives us a little bit more power for our voice. However, I am asking council for their understanding and compassion, because most of the people that I've spoke to, either in a group or individual setting, has mobility issues, transportation issues. So what we've decided, I have been nominated as a spokesperson for the group. So we were going to talk about 222 Temple Street and some of our concerns and safety concerns. To start, inclusion is for everyone. The people I spoke with that have built this community and have been a pillar for this community for years, whether they were born and raised in Sicamous or have moved to Sicamous and established themselves, or feel that they're left out in this process. Which is actually sad to me, because these people, as most of them are seniors, are now put on the back burner. And when I've talked to these people, they have a lot of passion, a lot of desire, and a huge commitment to this town. So, like I said, we're in support of this development. We've sent a letter, the 80 of us, a letter was sent to council with our concerns. And I know you brought up some of these concerns, but I'm gonna tell you what it's like living on that street, seeing the seniors and talking to them. So if this development goes through, the council really has to consider is a safety issue for sidewalks. That road that I measured is only 20 feet wide. When you look around the surrounding area of Sycamoose, it's narrow. So when people are parked on that street, regardless of if it's a pathway, that means vehicles are parked on the road. That means seniors, families, kids, dogs, we're all walking on that one side of the street, forcing it to be a one lane. And with the seniors, which we all seem to forget, they have hearing problems. So they're not gonna hear something and maybe jump out of the way to go in the ditch if vehicles are coming. We've also have a boat launch just straight down the road. That is gonna bring a lot more vehicle traffic, heavy duty traffic on Temple Street. So if parking signs are not put up, right now, you're correct. There are two. One's my house, the other one's on the corner of Riverside. There's no parking. Anybody else can park on that road. You're right, there's no Airbnbs, but in the future, if there is, where's everybody gonna park? It's gonna be on Temple Street, and unfortunately, I think it's gonna go down to the senior center and also to Haven, which I would hate to see, because that's gonna take spots away from everybody. And also we had concerns with the snow load. Because again, if everything goes on the south side, that's not fair for all the residents there. And also it'll be an access issue for anybody that's on Shuswap Lane. So where I'm going with all this, like I said, these people have a lot of passion and they get put on the back burner. So what we're requesting, if council could form a committee, and I would like to speak to that committee regarding our concerns in detail. I'll put a business plan together.
Thank you.
So you really understand. I just want to say thank you for your time and allow me to speak on behalf of the group.
Thank you very much. I would suggest that you put that request into the staff and they will address it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the gallery? Yep, go ahead. Name, please.
I'm Melanie Yakumishin, and my first piece is regarding 222 Temple as well. And I believe we'll talk about variances in the future. So I just want clarification, as we've been talking about the road. And then I know that we're talking about the development moving perhaps from 6 meters to 3 meters. So I don't understand where, whatever the sidewalk ends up being, where is that? Is that going into the development piece? Is that going into the road piece? So I'm not for information.
Daryl, do you want to take that?
Through the chair, what was proposed by the developer that got in front of council tonight was an asphalt sidewalk that'll be removed off the road. It'll be offset from the road. So there'll be a swale between the road and the sidewalk.
What is this within their development plan, if I'm understanding correctly?
So.
Or is that city land? Perhaps.
Within the road right away. It's within the road right away.
That was my
Okay.
question. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have one online. Who's online?
Josh, I believe.
Josh, you want to go ahead and just state your name, please?
Yeah, hi there to the chair. This is Josh with Landmark Engineering. I've actually been working with Daryl and Nicole and Jeremy and staff at council meetings during the PDC through this whole venture for the last 10 months. So I'm happy that we're here now and actually getting some public input. I guess regarding the roadway, there's a couple things. I know that people are concerned about the barrier curb and maybe the concrete sideway. This is a very cost-effective way to manage the roads of Sycamoose. A 2.5 meter, 8 foot wide asphalt pathway is what we're doing in the lower mainland as a multi-use. So it would be scooters, mobility scooters, bicycles, walking, strollers, and everything would use that. And with our design, what we tried to achieve was with Kemple Road, and I believe one of the councilors had talked to it, was you guys had designed the walkway right beside the roadway with a white painted line. What we wanted to do was give a little bit more of a breakup with this frontage and this development, which would include a 10 and 11 foot wide grass swale, which is very, it looks exactly like the opposite side of the road. And that would be in between where the multi-use pathway would be and the edge of the roadway. So there would be no problems with pedestrians and vehicle traffic. So we tried to kind of achieve that safety aspect versus what you guys did on Capel. And we went back and forth with operations and engineering to kind of come up with the schematic. With that being said, I guess with the concrete and the concrete barrier curb, I believe it was Councillor Bailey that spoke to that. The costs in doing that per linear meter is probably in the upwards cost of around 4 times more when you factor in the drainage and the concrete curb and then the sidewalk and the boulevard. By doing it this way with the extension to the east and the west to Shuswap and Riverside, it would be as easy as keeping the existing pavement that you guys have on Temple, which is actually 24 feet. I measured it as well, and we do have survey, not 20. And it would be as easy as paving an 8 foot wide swath to connect up at both ends if the district did want to go ahead and do that on their own, as opposed to extending it with curb, gutter, and concrete sidewalk to that magnitude. I guess just dealing with Alan, I won't take too much more of your time. He had a couple questions here in his public. Where's the snow going to go? That's why we created the 11-foot buffer in between the sidewalk and the edge of pavement. Also, without the curb and gutter, it's easily pushed into that swale, and that's where the snow storage is going to be. If there was curb there, well, I guess it could get damaged by the snowplow, thus needing replacement, and cost could go up. He also had a comment about parking. We're going to be installing no parking signs along Temple. He also had a comment about the width of the roadway. The road width and everything within between is going to stay the same. It's the right of way that we're talking about lenience. So we shouldn't need to have a lenience on the right of way if we can still fit everything within the 20-meter dedications that's there already. And yeah, so I'm kind of looking at my notes. I think that's it. So I won't take up any more of your time, but thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Okay. We're going to recommendation. We're going to adjourn. Oh, sorry, Fred, go ahead up to the.
My name is Fred Bush. And I did also have a concern, and some of the concerns that Al mentioned regarding that, and I think he covered that very well. My concern was that I live on 221 Temple Street, and it's a strata group, and I understand that this development will also be stratified. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So there really isn't going to be any private property, so to speak, on these. You will buy a unit, you will buy a house, and that's your private property. And you can't sort of, out of your back door or side door or whatever it is, you can't sort of construct a little fence so that you can let your dog out or your kids out. It's all going to be public property. And this concerns me. Certainly, I'm not in favor of this development. I think certainly we do need housing in Sycamore. But I gather it's going to be multifamily development. Is that correct? It's not just for seniors.
No, it's multifamily.
Pardon?
It's multifamily.
what are the kids supposed to do? Run around on the street? There is no playground that I can see. The closest playground that I know of is on Martin Street. And in order to do that, they have to cross Temple Street and also cross private property on our strata, which probably isn't a bad thing, but it is a long trip for kids. I wish that there could have been, and perhaps there still might be room for some playground area for kids. So that they can get out of their mother's hair for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. I think that would certainly make a much better, a better development for the whole community. Perhaps it's too late. I kept getting mixed messages and forgetting about when I should have been here to talk about this, but so it's maybe too late. I do have a question. I think someplace along the way, and maybe you've already done it, there is going to be some consideration of the District of Sigma's buying the Eagle River Golf Course. Have you received any?
Today, there was a delegation that came in and presented, but council has not discussed it. It is not a consideration right now. It was just an information today.
Okay. I would certainly like council to consider it. I don't know what the money situation would be like, but I think it would be a detriment to our community if that golf course closed and it turned into some kind of a development housing, or perhaps something that might not be such a bad thing as if DeWitt's started planting corn there. That might not be totally a total loss, but I think the golf course certainly does add to our community, and it does, I think, keep people here, golfers like myself, who are intimidated by Mara Hills and some of the other golf courses around, and we can almost walk the Eagle River course.
Perfect. Thank you, Fred. Thanks for your feedback. Okay, we are going to adjourn this meeting. There's a recommendation.
We're beyond.
I'm sorry.
So you can.
Okay, so input is 15 minutes and we are beyond 15 minutes. So I will give you a minute if you can do it in a minute. Okay, thank you.
Fred and Al have spoke to a lot of my concerns. I also live on Temple Street in the same group as Fred here. My main concern is parking still. I've looked at the plans. I have a background in civil engineering and development, and to me, the way these buildings are constructed, I still think we're gonna have a very big parking issue with these, even though they have more parking than is required by the bylaws. Those bylaws are kind of more for like a communal parking sort of situation. And these garages that they've not built for these people to park in, the only places they really have to park are very tight for the type of vehicles that these people are going to be bringing here. These units are units that typically are bought by younger people with a lot of toys, big trucks, SUVs.
Yeah.
And you cannot get two of those side by side in these units and get your doors open and get in and out of them. And so they're gonna have a lot of trouble using those garages as their only means of parking. So that's my big concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to adjourn at 7:38. Recommendation of the Creator Council meeting for October 9th, 2024 be adjourned. Time being 7:38. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bianca?
Bianca. Dinner.